Have you ever found yourself asking, why me? Why were you born into a family that often felt more like a battlefield than a safe haven? Imagine this. Before you even entered this world, your soul, with divine foresight, chose this family, not by accident or randomness, but with the precision and intention of a master artist crafting their greatest work. Your challenges were not handed to you to punish you, but to transform you. What if the very environment that tested your limits was the foundation for your spiritual growth, a carefully chosen path designed to awaken your purpose? As we begin this transformative journey together, I want to take a moment to deeply thank everyone who has supported this channel, especially those of you who have contributed through Super Thanks. Your generosity fuels this mission to inspire and uplift others, and I am endlessly grateful for your kindness and belief in the power of this community. If this message speaks to you, drop a 999 in the comments below. It's more than a number, it's a declaration of alignment with this profound truth. You may feel that being born into a toxic family was a curse, or perhaps even the result of bad karma. But what if I told you it was none of those things? Instead, what if this family, this very dynamic that has often brought you pain, was a gift in disguise, a monumental, life-shifting gift that holds the potential to unlock your destiny? Right now, it may not feel like a gift, and that's okay. But stay with me, because as we uncover the truth behind your pain, you'll see how every challenge has been preparing you for something extraordinary. Get ready to dive deep into this revelation and uncover the hidden wisdom within your story. Trust me, the answer will not only surprise you, but could also change the way you view your entire life. Hit the subscribe button to ensure you don't miss more life-changing spiritual insights like this one, and let's step into this powerful truth together. The journey starts here. God's chosen ones, why you were born into toxic families. It's a huge gift. Toxic families, while painful and challenging, can be compared to the refining fire mentioned in the Bible. This fire burns fiercely, leaving scars and memories that might never fade. Yet it is within this fire that your soul is tempered and strengthened, much like steel forged in the heat of a blacksmith's workshop. These difficult relationships strip away any illusions you might have held about life being simple or inherently fair. They reveal the unfiltered reality of human struggles and brokenness, forcing you to see and understand truths that many shy away from. Why would God place you in such a setting if you are His chosen one? Could it be that He is preparing you for something extraordinary? The Bible tells us in Zechariah 13:9, "I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name, and I will answer them." Toxic families become the crucible in which you are shaped into the person you are meant to be, refined and purified for your divine purpose. As a chosen one, you are not called to an ordinary path. You are meant to break generational cycles of pain, bitterness, and dysfunction. Toxic families may seem like a curse, but in truth, they are the ultimate training ground for your mission. Think of Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his own brothers, a betrayal that might have crushed anyone else. Yet, through his suffering, God elevated him to a position where he could save countless lives, including the very family that had wronged him. Could your trials be shaping you for a similar divine purpose? You were not born to live a comfortable or predictable life. Your purpose goes far beyond personal comfort. It is about transcendence, growth, and transformation. Are you beginning to see the divine strategy behind your circumstances? Perhaps the scars you carry are not just reminders of pain, but markers of your preparation for a greater destiny. Why would your soul choose to enter a family that seems so fractured and broken? This question can feel overwhelming, but the answer lies in the very fabric of your existence. The brokenness you were born into is not a coincidence. It is deeply rooted in your ancestry. The toxicity you face is the result of generations of unhealed wounds, unspoken truths, and ingrained patterns of pain passed down like an invisible inheritance. These burdens have persisted through time, waiting for someone strong enough to confront them. That someone is you. Have you ever considered why you feel so different from the others around you? Why you see the dysfunction for what it truly is, while others accept it as normal? This is no accident. You were born with the vision to see through the lies and the courage to break free from the chains of generational pain. The Bible reminds us in Exodus 25:6 that the consequences of sin can linger through generations, but God's mercy and blessings extend to those who love Him and keep His commandments. You, as one of God's chosen ones, are the vessel through which healing begins. Pause for a moment and let this truth settle in your heart. You were not born to blend in or conform to the brokenness around you. You were born to rise above it, to stand as a light in the darkness. Like Esther, who was placed in a royal family for such a time as this. Esther 4:14. You were specifically chosen to be born into your family so that you could challenge and change the patterns that have lingered for generations. Can you imagine the ripple effect your healing will create? Not just for yourself, but for the generations to come. Your role is profound. You are not merely here to survive the toxicity, you are here to transform it. You carry the divine responsibility of breaking cycles, healing wounds, and restoring what was lost. This is why you feel the weight so heavily. It is the burden of the chosen, but it is also your greatest gift, a divine calling that sets you apart. How might your family's story change because of your bravery? What legacy will you leave for those who come after you? When you embrace your role as God's chosen one, you begin to see that the pain you've endured is the very soil in which new life will grow. Here's the difficult truth. To break a generational cycle, you must first live through it. Transformation is impossible without understanding, and understanding only comes through experience. You cannot heal what you have not encountered, and you cannot rise above what you haven't confronted. This is why you were placed in the midst of the storm, not to drown in it, but to learn how to navigate its waters. You were not sent to suffer endlessly, but to awaken to a greater purpose. Now let me ask you something. When you look at your family, what do you see? Do you see anger simmering beneath the surface, the shadows of neglect, the sting of manipulation, or the grip of control? And here's the more challenging question. Where do you see traces of that same energy in yourself? Toxic families are not just a source of wounds. They act as mirrors, reflecting back the parts of ourselves we often try to hide or ignore. Could it be that the very traits you struggle with in your family are the ones God is asking you to confront within yourself? The Bible provides a powerful example in the story of Jacob and his family. Jacob's life was riddled with cycles of deceit and manipulation, from stealing Esau's blessing to being deceived by Laban. These generational patterns repeated themselves until Jacob wrestled with God, an event that marked his transformation and led to his new identity as Israel. Genesis 32:28. Are you too being called to wrestle with these patterns, to face the storm within and emerge transformed? Reflect for a moment on this idea. Toxic families are both a burden and a gift. They reveal the deepest wounds, but also provide the greatest opportunities for healing. By confronting the shadows mirrored back to you, you begin the process of breaking free. What if every moment of pain has been preparing you to rise above, not just for yourself, but for the generations before and after you? As a chosen one, your path is not easy, but it is meaningful. You are not simply enduring, you are being equipped. Each storm you weather is shaping you into a vessel of God's grace and transformation. Can you begin to see how even the pain serves a purpose? Perhaps the storm is not your enemy. It is your greatest teacher, calling you to face, heal, and rise above. This is why being born into a toxic family is, in its own profound way, a gift. In the fire of dysfunction, you are given the rare opportunity to see yourself clearly. The pain exposes the hidden wounds, the unresolved patterns, and the shadows you carry. It forces you to confront them, heal them, and ultimately transform yourself. And as you undergo this transformation, the ripple effect is undeniable. You begin to change not just your own life, but the trajectory of your entire lineage. But let's be honest, there is nothing romantic or glamorous about this journey. The pain is real, and the challenges are immense. Being born into a toxic family is one of the most difficult paths a soul can take. It demands extraordinary strength, unwavering resilience, and courage that many may not understand. You are called to face rejection, endure betrayal, and navigate the heartbreak of abandonment. These experiences can feel unbearable at times. Yet, every time you choose to respond differently, every time you meet hate with love, judgment with understanding, and anger with compassion, you break the chains of the cycle that have bound your family for generations. Think about the example of Jesus on the cross. Betrayed by his closest companions, abandoned in his darkest hour, and mocked by those he came to save, he could have responded with wrath. Instead, he chose forgiveness, saying, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Luke 23:34. Could this be the ultimate blueprint for breaking toxic cycles in your own life? What would happen if you responded to your family's dysfunction, not with retaliation, but with grace? This path of breaking cycles is not for the faint of heart, and as a chosen one, you have been uniquely equipped for this role. Every time you rise above the pain and choose love, you are rewriting the story of your family. You are healing wounds that go back generations, and you are planting seeds of hope for those who come after you. Have you ever paused to wonder how much light your choices might bring into the world? Your journey is not just about survival, it is about transformation. It is about stepping into your divine calling and becoming the change your family has needed for so long. Yes, the fire burns and the path is steep, but the strength you gain and the legacy you leave behind will echo for eternity. Are you ready to embrace this gift and fulfill the purpose for which you were chosen? Ask yourself this: what would change if you stopped fighting against your family and started viewing them as your greatest teachers? Imagine for a moment that their toxic behaviors were not a reflection of your value, but a manifestation of their own unhealed pain. What if their inability to love you fully was not because you are unlovable, but because they have never truly learned how to love themselves? These questions hold the key to a powerful shift in perspective. When you begin to see your family not as the enemy, but as wounded individuals navigating their own struggles, everything changes. Instead of asking, "Why are they hurting me?" you start asking, "What are they teaching me?" What lessons about resilience, patience, or self-worth could their actions be pointing you toward? The Bible reminds us in Ephesians 6:12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world." Could it be that the real battle is not with your family, but with the deeper forces of brokenness and dysfunction that have shaped them and you? Here's the liberating truth: your family's toxicity is not your weight to bear. It is an invitation to heal, to grow, and to reclaim your identity beyond their projections and expectations. It is a call to remember who you truly are as one of God's chosen ones. Think of Joseph, who faced betrayal from his brothers, yet refused to let their actions define him. He rose above the pain, and his transformation eventually brought redemption to his entire family. Could your healing journey hold the same potential for transformation? But here's the catch. You cannot heal your family. Their wounds are not yours to fix. Your responsibility is to heal yourself. And in doing so, you create a ripple effect that has the power to transform everything around you. Jesus said in Matthew 7:5, "First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." Your healing begins with self-reflection, not by trying to change others. This journey invites you to step into your divine power, to recognize that you were chosen not to carry the weight of your family's pain, but to transcend it. What would happen if you accepted this invitation? Could the ripple effect of your healing extend beyond what you can imagine, reaching both your ancestors and future generations? You are not defined by their toxicity. Instead, you are called to rise above it, to embody love, and to transform everything through your choice to heal. Let me share a personal truth with you. There was a time when I believed that if I could just be good enough, successful enough, or strong enough, I could fix my family. I thought I could save them from their pain, their patterns, and their struggles. But the harder I tried, the clearer it became. Saving them was never my responsibility. My true calling was to save myself. I had to step out of the cycles that were holding me captive, to break free from the patterns that had defined my life for so long. Have you ever felt this way? Like, if you could just try harder or do more, you could heal the brokenness around you. The Bible reminds us in Galatians 5:1, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." The freedom you seek begins with you. It is not about fixing others, but about releasing yourself from the chains of generational pain. And as I began to focus on my own healing, something incredible happened. The family dynamics that once seemed immovable began to shift, not because I forced them to, but because I changed. By stepping into my own light, I unknowingly inspired others to reflect on their own shadows. It was as if the act of breaking free created space for others to do the same. This is the power of being one of God's chosen ones. You were not sent to fight the darkness head-on. You were called to shine your light so brightly that the darkness can no longer hide. Jesus said in Matthew 5:14-16, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." What if your healing journey is the light your family needs to see their own path to freedom? So, what would happen if you let go of the weight of trying to save everyone else and instead focused on saving yourself? Could your transformation be the catalyst for change in ways you cannot yet imagine? This is the miracle of stepping into your role as a chosen one. You don't have to fight the darkness to defeat it. Simply by embracing your light, you create a ripple effect that has the power to transform everything around you. But let me ask you this: what does it truly mean to shine your light in the face of overwhelming darkness? What does it look like to love yourself wholeheartedly when no one around you seems capable of offering that same love? And how do you choose peace, not as a fleeting feeling, but as a steadfast choice, when chaos threatens to consume you? These are not easy questions, but they are the ones that matter most. They are the questions that will shape your journey as one of God's chosen ones. To shine your light means stepping into the identity God has given you, even when the world around you tries to dim it. In John 1:5, we are reminded, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." This is your truth. No matter how dark it gets, your light cannot be extinguished. Have you considered that your ability to shine might be the very thing that transforms the darkness, not by force, but by presence? Loving yourself when no one else does is perhaps one of the hardest but most profound acts of faith. It means seeing yourself as God sees you, fearfully and wonderfully made, Psalm 139:14, even when others fail to recognize your worth. Could it be that the love you show yourself is the foundation for the love you will one day pour into others? And what would happen if you began to treat yourself with the same grace and compassion that you long to receive? Choosing peace in chaos is not about denying the storm. It is about finding stillness in the midst of it. Jesus, when faced with a raging storm, simply said, "Peace, be still." Mark 4:39. What storms in your life are calling for you to speak peace into them, not through control but through trust in God's provision? And here is the most transformative truth. The moment you stop seeing your family as a curse and begin to view them as a gift, everything begins to shift. Their challenges and imperfections become tools for your growth. Their wounds, though painful, become the mirror through which you discover your strength. The moment you stop resisting the path God has set before you and start embracing it, you step into the fullness of your power. What would happen if you embraced the very things you've been resisting? Could the pain you've endured be the catalyst for your purpose? The journey of the chosen is not easy, but it is filled with profound meaning. Every step you take toward healing, every act of love and peace you choose, is a step toward the destiny God has called you to fulfill. Will you accept this invitation to rise? The truth is, you were never placed in a toxic family to be broken. You were placed there to rise, to heal, and to awaken. Your presence in the midst of dysfunction is not an accident, but a divine assignment. Let's take a moment to delve deeper into this truth. There is something extraordinary that occurs when a soul is set in the heart of chaos, pain, and dysfunction. The wounds inflicted by a toxic family do not merely leave scars. They create openings. These openings are not voids of despair. They are spaces where God's light can pour in, where awareness begins to awaken, and where transformation takes root. Have you ever wondered why you feel so different, so called to rise above, while others seem resigned to the cycles of pain? The Bible reminds us in Romans 8:28 that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Even the chaos of your family has a purpose in shaping you into the person you were destined to become. What if the very cracks caused by the pain were designed to let God's healing light reach the deepest parts of your soul? These openings are where awakening begins. Like the story of Job, who endured unimaginable suffering yet emerged with a deeper understanding of God's grace and power, you are being called to see beyond the chaos. Job declared in Job 42:5, "My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you." Could the pain in your family be the instrument that opens your eyes to the divine purpose in your life? Transformation starts the moment you stop viewing your wounds as weaknesses and begin to see them as pathways to growth. Every scar is a reminder that you have endured, but it is also a marker of where healing has begun. What if these scars are not symbols of defeat, but of the resilience and light that now flow through you? You were not born to simply survive the dysfunction around you. You were born to transcend it, to turn wounds into wisdom and chaos into clarity. The question is, will you allow the light to pour into those openings and guide your journey? What transformation might be waiting on the other side of the pain? The process is not easy, but as a chosen one, your calling is to rise, not despite the chaos, but because of it. Here's the paradox. Before you can recognize the gift hidden in your pain, you must confront the wound that created it. This is where so many people falter. They resist the pain, fight against it, or try to escape it. But pain, especially the deep and lingering kind that comes from family, is not something you can outrun. It is a shadow that follows you until you turn around and face it. As one of God's chosen ones, this confrontation is not a punishment. It is your path to freedom. Take a moment to reflect on the wounds you carry from your family. Were you criticized so often that you began to doubt your own worth? Did the constant disapproval chip away at the belief that you were enough, just as you are? Or maybe you were ignored, left feeling invisible, until you started believing your voice didn't matter. Did their silence teach you to question your place in the world? Perhaps you were controlled so tightly that you lost touch with your own intuition, no longer trusting yourself to make decisions. Or maybe the love you longed for came with strings attached, conditional and transactional. Did you find yourself equating love with performance, approval, or sacrifice, always wondering if you had done enough to earn it? These wounds are not just sources of pain, they are the starting points of your transformation. The Bible offers profound insight into this. In Isaiah 61:3, we are told that God gives a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. But before the beauty, joy, and praise can come, the ashes and mourning must be acknowledged. What would happen if you allowed yourself to confront these wounds, to see them not as permanent scars, but as the first steps in a journey toward healing? Jesus himself faced rejection and betrayal from those closest to him. Yet he did not avoid the pain. He carried it to the cross, transforming it into redemption for all. Could your pain serve a similar purpose, not just for you but for the generations connected to you? What if these wounds are not just markers of suffering, but invitations to grow closer to God and step into the power He has placed within you? When you stop running from the pain and begin to face it, you unlock the potential to rewrite your story. Confronting these wounds allows you to reclaim the worth, trust, and love that were always yours in God's eyes. How might your life change if you stopped resisting the pain and started seeing it as a stepping stone to your divine purpose? You are not defined by your wounds. They are merely the starting point of your transformation. These wounds are undeniably real. They sting, they ache, and they leave marks on your heart. They shape your experiences, influencing how you see the world and how you see yourself. Yet, these wounds are also a catalyst for something far greater, your awakening. Every wound carries a lesson waiting to be discovered. Every scar tells a story of survival and resilience, and every pain holds the potential for profound growth, if only you are willing to explore it. Let me ask you this. When you reflect on the pain your family has caused, what emotions rise to the surface? Is it anger, simmering and unresolved? Resentment, clinging tightly to the past? Or maybe it's sadness, a quiet ache for the love you didn't receive? Now, consider the deeper question. What are these emotions teaching you about yourself? Could they be pointing to places within you that long for healing, understanding, or forgiveness? The Bible reminds us in Psalm 34-18, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Your pain, as overwhelming as it may feel, is not the end of your story. It is an invitation to draw closer to God, to discover the strength and love He has placed within you. Have you ever thought that your emotions, as painful as they are, could be guiding you toward this deeper connection? Think of the story of Joseph, whose brothers betrayed him out of jealousy. Joseph endured years of pain, but he didn't let it define him. Instead, he used the lessons learned in the depths of betrayal and suffering to rise into his divine purpose, ultimately forgiving his family and saving them from famine. Could your pain be preparing you for a similar transformation? What might happen if you chose to view your wounds not as the end of something, but as the beginning of your awakening? Your emotions are not the enemy, they are messengers. Anger can reveal where boundaries need to be set. Sadness can point to where healing is needed. Resentment can highlight the parts of you still seeking freedom. What would it look like to stop suppressing these feelings and instead use them as tools for self-discovery and growth? You were not chosen to carry the weight of your pain forever. You were chosen to rise from it, to learn its lessons, and to turn it into a testimony of healing and resilience. So, what are your emotions teaching you today? And how will you allow their lessons to shape the person God is calling you to become? Your wounds are not just reminders of what you've endured. They are the starting point for the incredible transformation that lies ahead. You see, as one of God's chosen ones, your mission is not merely to heal your family. Your first and most crucial responsibility is to heal yourself. This healing journey begins with a profound realization. The pain your family inflicted upon you is not truly about you. It is a reflection of their wounds, their fears, and their limitations. But somewhere along the way, you may have internalized it. You took their pain and made it your own, believing their actions defined your worth. This is where your work begins, not in fixing others, but in reclaiming the truth of who you are. Think about the narratives you've carried from your family. Were you told, whether through words or actions, that you were not enough, that you had to earn love through perfection, obedience, or sacrifice? These stories are not yours to bear. They are echoes of generations before you, passed down until they landed on you. And as painful as they are, you were chosen to break free from them. The Bible offers a clear reminder of this truth in 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here. You are not bound by the old stories written by your family. In Christ, you have the power to rewrite your narrative, to step into a new identity rooted in God's love and purpose for your life. Separating yourself from your family's story doesn't mean rejecting them. It means recognizing that their wounds are not your responsibility to carry. Think of Jesus, who faced rejection and misunderstanding from his own people. He did not let their disbelief define his mission. Instead, he stayed true to his divine calling, even when it meant walking a path that others could not understand. Could your calling require a similar courage to step into your identity, even if it means breaking away from the expectations your family placed on you? Reclaiming your identity is not an easy process, but it is a necessary one. It requires you to challenge the beliefs and patterns that have kept you stuck. It means saying no to the roles others have cast you in, and yes to the person God created you to be. How would your life change if you stopped seeing yourself through the lens of your family's pain and started seeing yourself as God's masterpiece? This is your invitation to reclaim your worth, your power, and your purpose. The pain you've carried is not the final word. It is the starting point of your transformation. So, what steps will you take today to begin separating yourself from the story others have written for you? You are not here to live under the shadow of their limitations. You are here to rise above them, to heal yourself, and in doing so, to inspire others to do the same. But how do you heal from wounds that feel so deeply embedded they seem like part of your very being? How do you break free from generational patterns that have wrapped themselves around your family for decades, maybe even centuries? It begins with awareness, an awakening to the truth that the way your family treated you does not define your worth. Awareness that their toxicity is not your destiny, and that you were chosen not to perpetuate the cycle, but to end it. Awareness, however, is just the starting point. True transformation begins when you take responsibility, not for their actions, but for your healing. It's recognizing that while you cannot control the past or change others, you hold the power to decide how you move forward. Think of the moment when Jesus on the cross declared, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Luke 23:34. He didn't wait for an apology or acknowledgement of his suffering. He chose forgiveness not because it was deserved, but because it was freeing. Could your journey toward healing begin with a similar act of grace? Here's a profound truth. The moment you stop waiting for your family to change, when you release the hope that they will validate your worth, apologize for the pain they caused, or love you in the way you deserve, that's the moment you begin to set yourself free. Ask yourself, how much longer can you afford to wait for something that might never come? Some people may never change. Some wounds may never be acknowledged. Some apologies may remain unspoken. And that's okay, because your healing doesn't depend on them. It depends on you. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior or forgetting what happened. It means choosing to let go of the anger, resentment, and bitterness that weigh down your soul. What would it look like to forgive your family? Not because their actions were justified, but because you deserve peace. What would it feel like to release the heavy burden of the past, not as a gift to them, but as a gift to yourself? In Colossians 3:13, we are reminded to bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about reclaiming your own freedom. When you choose to forgive, you break the chains that bind you to the pain. You declare that their actions no longer hold power over you. Imagine what your life could look like without the weight of unresolved anger and bitterness. What new joys might you discover? What opportunities for love and growth might become possible? Healing doesn't erase the past, but it transforms your relationship with it. You begin to see that the pain you endured was not meant to define you, but to refine you. Will you take the first step today toward claiming the peace that has always been your birthright as one of God's chosen ones? Forgiveness is not about erasing the past or excusing the harm done to you. It is a bold declaration. I will no longer let your actions define who I am. I will no longer let your pain become my burden. I will no longer allow your toxicity to control the course of my life. In this act of release, the gift of forgiveness becomes clear. As you heal, you awaken to the truth of your identity. As you let go of the pain, you reclaim your power. And as you break free from the patterns of your family, you step fully into the person God created you to be. But let's be honest, this process is not simple or tidy. Healing is messy, full of twists and turns. It is not a straight path, but one filled with setbacks and breakthroughs. Awakening is equally challenging. There will be days when the weight of your family's dysfunction feels overwhelming, when the cycle you're trying to break feels unbreakable. You may find yourself questioning whether you have the strength to endure it. In those moments, I want you to hold on to this truth. You were chosen for this journey, not because it is easy, but because God has equipped you with the strength to face it. You were not chosen to suffer endlessly, but to transform suffering into strength, pain into purpose, and wounds into wisdom. Consider the words of Romans 8:18, which remind us, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. Could your current struggles be preparing you for something far greater? Look at the example of Jesus, who endured the unimaginable pain of betrayal, rejection, and crucifixion. He didn't shy away from the messiness of human suffering. Instead, he transformed it into the greatest act of redemption. Could your own pain serve as a foundation for transformation, not just for yourself, but for those who witness your journey? Healing requires perseverance and faith. There will be moments of doubt, but each step forward is a testament to your resilience. You are not defined by the dysfunction of your family. You are defined by the purpose God has placed within you. Every time you choose to rise above the pain, you are rewriting the story for yourself and for generations to come. Ask yourself, what might your life look like if you embrace the messiness of healing instead of fearing it? What wisdom could be born from your wounds? You are not here to be consumed by the weight of the past. You are here to transcend it, to transform it, and to inspire others to do the same. You're proof that God's chosen ones can rise from the deepest pain to fulfill the greatest purpose. What if the very things you've come to see as weaknesses, the scars etched into your soul by your family, are actually your greatest strengths? What if the rejection you endured taught you to love yourself deeply and unconditionally? What if the neglect forced you to cultivate independence and strength? What if the pain you experienced became the foundation for the profound compassion you now carry? This is the divine alchemy of God's chosen ones. You were not born to be consumed by darkness, but to transform it into light. You take the pain handed to you and shape it into purpose. You inherit cycles of dysfunction, and through your courage, you break them, liberating not just yourself, but paving the way for all who come after you. Because here is a profound truth. Your healing is not just about you. When you heal, you create ripples that extend far beyond your own life. You heal the generations before you, who never had the tools or strength to confront the pain. You heal the generations after you, showing them a path of freedom and possibility. Every step you take toward breaking free from toxic cycles becomes a beacon of hope for others. The Bible captures this beautifully in Isaiah 61:4. They will rebuild the ancient ruins and restore the places long devastated. They will renew the ruined cities that have been devastated for generations. As one of God's chosen ones, you are the restorer, the rebuilder of your family's broken legacy. Your pain is not justified, but it is purposeful, leading to the awakening of your true self and the liberation of those connected to you. If you knew that your family's toxicity was the very furnace that would refine you into the person God designed you to be, how would your perspective shift? If you saw every wound as an invitation to grow and every scar as evidence of your resilience, how would you respond? What if, instead of viewing yourself as a victim of your family's dysfunction, you saw yourself as the catalyst for their transformation? You were not born to repeat the patterns of pain and dysfunction. You were born to break them. You were not placed in this family to be defined by their wounds, but to rise above them. As Jesus said in John 8:36, "So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed." That freedom starts with you. Your family's pain is not your identity. It is the soil from which your purpose grows. Every act of healing, every choice to rise, every moment you step into your God-given power is a testament to the strength within you. You are the living proof that light can emerge from the deepest darkness. That is the gift you carry, and it is one that will ripple through time, transforming not just your life, but the lives of countless others. So, how will you embrace this gift today? How will you step into the fullness of who you are, knowing that you are not here to be consumed by pain, but to transform it into purpose? Now that we've uncovered the purpose hidden within the pain, it's time to focus on the path forward. Understanding that you are one of God's chosen ones is only the beginning. Recognizing that your toxic family is part of your divine journey doesn't instantly make the process easier. The real transformation begins when you take full responsibility for your healing and your life. It starts when you choose to break free, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. What does true freedom mean to you? Not the surface-level freedom that comes from walking away or cutting ties. Those steps may be necessary, but they are only the beginning. True freedom is deeper. It is the kind of freedom where your family's words no longer sting, their actions no longer dictate your emotions, and their judgments no longer hold power over you. True freedom means their dysfunction no longer defines you, and their toxicity no longer sets the limits of your life. This is the path of liberation. The Bible speaks to this kind of freedom in John 8:32. "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Freedom isn't about escaping your circumstances, it's about transforming your relationship with them. It's about stepping out of the reactive cycle of hurt and blame and stepping into alignment with the truth of who God created you to be. Imagine a life where you are no longer reacting to dysfunction, but living fully in your purpose. How might that change everything for you? This path begins with a single, powerful decision. The decision to stop living in reaction to your family's behavior and to start living in alignment with your truth. Jesus faced rejection, scorn, and betrayal, yet never allowed the opinions or actions of others to derail his mission. Instead, he lived in alignment with God's plan, demonstrating the ultimate example of freedom and purpose. Walking this path may mean letting go of old patterns and emotional ties, but it also opens the door to a life of peace, strength, and divine purpose. Freedom is not easy, and it doesn't happen overnight. It requires patience, courage, and faith to break free from old cycles and embrace the truth of your identity. Each choice to rise above the chaos, release resentment, and live in alignment with your calling brings you closer to true liberation. What does freedom mean to you? What would it feel like to live a life where your family's dysfunction no longer dictates your identity? Breaking free is about more than just physical separation. It's about releasing the mental and spiritual chains that have held you back. This is the journey you were chosen for, not to be defined by pain, but to rise above it and live fully in your God-given truth. The path is not easy, but it leads to the life you were always meant to live. Breaking free is not about running away. You could move to the farthest corners of the earth and still find yourself shackled by the wounds of your family. The chains that bind you are not external, they are internal. They are the beliefs you've absorbed, the patterns you've inherited, and the stories you've told yourself about your worth and identity. True freedom comes not from distance, but from dismantling these chains within. The first step on this path is awareness. Awareness of the patterns, beliefs, and narratives that have kept you stuck in a cycle of pain. Take a moment to reflect. What patterns from your family are you unconsciously repeating in your own life? What beliefs about your value or purpose did you inherit from their words or actions? What stories have you internalized about who you are because of how they treated you? For instance, perhaps you grew up in a family where love was conditional, offered only when you met expectations or achieved something significant. Over time, you might have learned to tie your self-worth to external validation, constantly striving for perfection to feel deserving of love. Or maybe you were raised in an environment where your voice was silenced, your feelings dismissed, and your ideas ignored. Now, you might hesitate to speak up, doubt your intuition, or suppress your truth, fearing rejection or judgment. These patterns, beliefs, and stories form the internal chains that keep you tied to your family's toxicity. They shape your choices, relationships, and how you see yourself. Until you bring them into the light of awareness, they will continue to hold you captive. This is where the work begins, not in fixing your family, but in reclaiming yourself. Awareness is only the first step, though. The next step is healing. And healing is not about fixing what's broken in you because you are not broken. It is about remembering who you were before the wounds. It is about peeling back the layers of conditioning, stripping away the false stories, and reconnecting with the truth of who God created you to be. The Bible reminds us in Psalm 139:14, "I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, I know that full well. You are not defined by the pain of your past or the patterns of your family. You were created with intention, designed for a divine purpose." Healing is the process of rediscovering that truth and living in alignment with it. What would your life look like if you released the need for external validation and embraced your inherent worth? How might your relationships change if you found the courage to speak your truth and trust your voice? Breaking free is not about erasing your past, but about transforming your relationship with it, allowing it to inform your growth rather than dictate your identity. The chains that bind you may feel heavy, but the power to break them lies within you. Awareness leads to healing, and healing leads to transformation. With each layer you strip away, you move closer to the fullness of who you are. A chosen one, destined not to carry the weight of generational pain, but to rise above it and live in freedom. Healing is not a straight line. It's messy, uncomfortable, and often feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's a process of unlearning the false narratives you've been taught about yourself and rebuilding from the ground up. This journey requires 3 essential pillars: self-love, self-compassion, and self-discipline. Self-love is the foundation of healing. It is the radical decision to choose yourself, even when no one else does. It is the practice of honoring your needs, respecting your boundaries, and recognizing your worth, regardless of how your family treated you. Self-love is the profound realization that you are enough, exactly as you are, without needing to prove or earn your value. It's an act of reclaiming the truth that God has already affirmed about you in Psalm 139:14. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. But self-love doesn't come easily when you've been conditioned to believe you're unworthy. This is where self-compassion becomes vital. Self-compassion is the gentle voice within that whispers, it's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to not have all the answers. It reminds you that healing is a journey, not a destination, and that you don't have to navigate it perfectly. Jesus himself demonstrated compassion toward human frailty, saying in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Could you extend the same grace to yourself as you move through this process? Then there's self-discipline, the often overlooked but essential element of healing. Healing is hard work. It requires you to show up for yourself consistently, even when it's uncomfortable, even when progress feels invisible. Self-discipline is choosing actions that align with your highest self, even when old patterns or habits tempt you to return to what feels familiar. It is the daily commitment to break the cycle, to prioritize your well-being, and to move closer to the person God has called you to be. What would your life look like if you lived every day as though you were worthy of love, respect, and happiness? What choices would you make differently? What boundaries would you set to protect your peace? What relationships would you release because they no longer serve your growth? Breaking free is not about trying to change your family or their behavior. It's about transforming yourself. It's about stepping out of the role they imposed on you and stepping fully into the truth of who you are. This journey is not easy, but it is life-changing. You are not defined by the roles others have cast you in. You are defined by God's truth and the identity He has given you. Healing is about embracing that truth, making choices that honor your worth, and living each day as a testament to the power of love, compassion, and discipline. It's not about perfection, it's about progress, and every step you take brings you closer to the freedom you are destined to live. Here's the deeper truth. Breaking free doesn't necessarily mean abandoning your family. It doesn't have to mean cutting them off or refusing to speak to them unless that's truly necessary for your well-being. Breaking free is about detaching from their energy, their expectations, and the narratives they've placed on you. It's about loving them from a place of wholeness, not out of guilt or obligation. It's about seeing them clearly, acknowledging their flaws, wounds, and imperfections, while choosing to rise above their pain rather than being consumed by it. This kind of detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying what was never yours to bear. It's a reflection of the wisdom found in 2 Corinthians 12:9, where God reminds us, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." By surrendering the need to fix or change your family, you create space for God's grace to work in ways you might not expect. And here's the most beautiful part. As you heal, you become a mirror for what's possible. Your growth reflects back to your family a vision of transformation, freedom, and love. Even if they never openly acknowledge it, your healing plants seeds of hope in their hearts. Your light, born from your journey, awakens something in them, something they might not yet understand or know how to express. Imagine for a moment, what if the greatest act of love you could offer your family isn't fixing them, but becoming the fullest, freest version of yourself? What if your healing is the catalyst that begins to shift their hearts, even if it takes years or generations for those seeds to bloom? Think of the parable of the mustard seed in Matthew 13:31-32. Though the seed is small, it grows into a tree large enough to provide shelter. Your healing journey, though it may feel personal and individual, has the potential to grow into a legacy of transformation that touches everyone connected to you. Your role is not to take responsibility for their wounds, but to break free from the cycles that keep you bound. This freedom isn't just for you, it's a light that shows others what is possible. How might your family's story begin to change simply by witnessing your courage? What might happen if, instead of trying to fix them, you focused on embodying the love, peace, and wholeness you were always meant to reflect? Your healing doesn't just liberate you, it creates ripples that extend far beyond your life. By stepping into the truth of who you are, you offer your family a gift more powerful than words, the example of transformation. It may take time, and the fruits of your journey may not always be visible, but rest assured, they are there. Breaking free is not about leaving your family behind. It's about rising into the light that you were born to shine, and in doing so, inviting them to rise too. This is the path of the chosen ones. It's not an easy path, nor is it one adorned with glamour or ease, but it is a path filled with purpose, transformation, and ultimate liberation. As we reach the end of this reflection together, let this truth settle in your heart. Your family's toxicity is not your destiny. It is your training ground. It is the fire that forges your strength and the soil in which your soul takes root and grows. Every time you rise above the dysfunction, every time you choose healing over bitterness, and every time you love yourself in the face of rejection or pain, you are fulfilling your divine purpose as a chosen one. You were not placed in a toxic family by accident. You were born into it because God knew you were strong enough to rise above it, wise enough to learn from it, and brave enough to begin the healing process. In Isaiah 43:2, we are reminded, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze." You were chosen for this journey, not because it is easy, but because you are capable. As you walk this path, take comfort in knowing that you are not alone. All around the world, there are millions of chosen ones just like you, breaking generational cycles, healing ancient wounds, and rewriting the stories of their lives. Together, we are creating a new reality, one where love, compassion, and truth become the foundation for generations to come. Now, take a moment to envision your future. If you fully embraced your role as a chosen one, if you stepped boldly into the power and purpose that God has given you, what kind of life would you create? What legacy would you leave behind for those who follow? This is your invitation to rise, to heal, and to transcend. The journey is not without challenges, but each step brings you closer to the freedom and fulfillment you were destined for. You are not defined by your family's toxicity. You are defined by your courage to transform it. This is your purpose. This is your path. This is what it means to be one of God's chosen ones. Step into it fully and watch as the life you were created for begins to unfold. Being born into a toxic family is often seen as a curse, but in reality, it's one of the greatest gifts God can bestow upon you. While it may feel challenging and painful, this experience has shaped you, refined you, and built your resilience. God doesn't make mistakes. He placed you in this situation because He knows you have the strength to not only survive, but to thrive. Through this, you've gained wisdom, perseverance, and a deep understanding that will empower you to break generational cycles. This isn't a setback. It's an opportunity to rise above, to transform your life, and to become a beacon of light for others who are going through similar struggles. You were chosen for such a time as this. Your journey, though difficult, is a testament to the greatness that lies within you. Embrace it, because God is using every challenge you face to prepare you for the incredible purpose He has set for your life. If this message has resonated with you, I encourage you to support this channel by leaving a super thanks. Your contribution helps us continue to share these powerful messages and reach more people in need of encouragement. But whether or not you donate, I am deeply thankful for you and your support. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Sharing this video can help someone else who might be going through a similar experience. Remember, no matter where you come from, you are chosen, and God's plans for your life are greater than any challenge you've faced. May God bless you abundantly, and may His strength continue to guide you every step of the way.